August 29th, 2019 Advisory Committee to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
That's from last night.
Nobody here today, but this is being recorded for TV Channel 8, Templeton Community Television, and the YouTube channel. So I don't think anyone here is recording anymore. Any additional? First on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes from last meeting. Did everybody get those from Debbie? Any comments? Questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes for August 15th, 2019 as written.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more comments? Bob?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Faith?
Yes.
And I'll abstain since I was not here. Okay, next on the agenda is we got the year-end budget versus actuals. A lot of information in there. Since we just got them, I don't know, and we're going to have a meeting next week. And I know Will did have some comments that he definitely wanted to. He hasn't emailed me with what specifics he wanted to bring up. And I don't think there's anything pressing. We might want to consider pushing that to next week. Hopefully he'll be here. And if not, that's just a thought, unless anybody has any comments on them, and we can add it to the meeting next week again if we need to.
I'll make a motion to push it to next week, or the next meeting,
Which is next week.
so that Mr. Spring can join us.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Bob?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Faith?
Yes.
And I'm yes. So this way, I know Will usually does a lot of good stuff on that, and I want to make sure that his comments are, out to the public and to us for discussion. So hopefully, if he's not here next week, I'll try to get him to email me his points and email us his points and then get it. So next on the agenda was a school committee meeting of Monday. I did attend that. In which they reaffirmed their original, well, not their original, but their amended 19,798 or 8,788.
Yeah, 788 and change.
788 and change.
786, 889.
Right, and that was unanimous by all of them. I think that I think it's important that people watch that meeting and see some of the comments that came out of that meeting from the school committee. I think part of it seems like now it's us against them. I wish it wasn't that way. I did try to ask, but was kind of stopped. What I really want to do is I want to see the analysis of what it costs to operate Phillipston Memorial and the new school. And while the new school is going to be somewhat nebulous right now because they really don't know electrical cost, and quite frankly, 1 year is not going to really give you a good baseline. You need about 5 years with varying winters to really get, this is what the costs are. So, but I think for the town of Templeton, I said this at the joint meeting. I understand how much the Phillipston people want to have their school and what that means to them, but unfortunately, the town of Templeton can't keep supporting them. Now, it is possible that about 81% that we pay for that, it's not 84, it's really about 81 if you look at the numbers. What our 81% to keep that school open and what their 19% for the new elementary will be, it could end up being a wash. It's possible, but until we see the numbers, it's very difficult to make any kind of assessment. So as of right now, they've set a date for the 25th of September to go back to another joint town meeting. Same format as last week. I think they're gonna look into whether they need to go through the whole process of appointing a moderator, or if they'll ask Mr. Flynn if he can just carry over and do that. So we'll be discussing that. We may discuss it next week. I'm not gonna be here on the 18th, the week before. But that's not critical that I'm here, so we'll talk about that next week a little bit, and then going forward. Any comments on the school committee meeting? Anybody watch it?
I watched it and, yeah. I shut it off twice so that I could think, because I didn't like what I was hearing. And I'll give you an idea. One of the things that I was disappointed of, my thoughts regarding school choice, and I've made them clear with Dr. Casavant. We discussed that back and forth. And it was my understanding, and maybe I misinterpreted, but that they weren't doing this, but yet Mrs. Hughes, at an hour and 13 minutes into the meeting, states just full on that they decided they were gonna create a kindergarten class and pay for the teacher with school choice kids. I mean, just point blank, just boom, boom. This, we're having we need the teacher, we're paying for it by bringing in X amount of kids. I think that's a recipe for disaster, as I've said multiple times. We're now, apparently at over 20%, school choice kids, because we're at, according to his thing, was what, 270 or 269, 270?
69.
I thought he said 273, but.
I mean, I don't think until really Tuesday they'll know the
That's
real
right.
numbers, but those, like he told us, would change
Right.
almost daily, so.
Right, I mean, but, they're just numbers that, threw out. It's a potential number that he threw out of the kids they're looking at, for 273. I mean, 1, 2, 5, 10 difference, when you're at 20% isn't gonna, so, the comments, does seem very divisive and, let's say, designed to wedge Phillipston and Templeton. And I don't think it should be. It's simple about, this is a pile of money that we have, and these are the things we need to spend it on. We can't make the pile bigger. We gotta figure out how we're gonna divide it. And, and that's just the reality of it. We only have X. We don't have X plus whatever we can find. The town's budget was 8.6 or so last year after the $470,000 override. This year, the town's budget was brought up to $9.6 million, $800,000 of which was to cover the bond on the school. That's $1 million, well, $800,000 that the Templeton taxpayers are paying additionally for the school system. And then the school comes in, first off with, their budget last year was 18.6 for the towns, their town portion, the foundation budget, as they call it, was 18.6 and change based on the FY20 budget book. And we're looking for 19.7, which is $1.1 million more. 800,000 of which in the budget book is listed as salary and raises. It's real hard when you look at the explanations, the numbers, to not say somebody can give. You know, and everybody's giving a little bit, but they came back at that 600,000 less than their $1.4 million ask and decided that's good. Because, I believe, because Phillipston approved. And I believe that is the reason, my own. This is, the way we come to this has to change. You know, I personally have looked through the recommendations, DLS, DOR, MMA, and so forth, and under best practices, in every one of them, they have it listed that the school business manager should be partaking in a monthly meeting with the department heads, you know, the financial team here. So everybody's in the same loop, everybody's on the same page. So that it's not this you and us and them and all this
Right.
stuff at the end of the year. It's us. It's
Right.
the taxpayers of Templeton that gotta do this. You know, and the taxpayers of Phillipston.
It's kind of like everybody, all the department heads get together and then the school committee says, here's your bill. It's, you know, I think they need to, I agree, I think they need to maybe participate a little bit more and understand what the town is, what we're dealing with as a town.
Well, I would concur, and I think, you know, what we have, you know, to deal with as a town is just the fact, the size of our budget and the amount of revenue increase that we have, based on present practices, don't come close to covering. The revenue doesn't come close to covering the built-in increases in cost, raises, healthcare,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. So I, you know, I think we need to, let's say, structurally readjust the way we do this.
I believe I think that the superintendent's office realized that the way they construct their budget next year is gonna have to be different.
It sure sounded it.
Down. The one of the comments that was made, and I don't remember who made it, was talking about, you know, have we talked about going back to our voters, for an override? Well, I'm certainly not in favor of that, even if it was just a couple of $100,000, because, you know, this year, everybody's tax bills are going up, and they're not just going up $50 or $100. I think most people are going up in the multiple hundreds and then some. So I know mine went up, I want to say 9 or 100-ish or something, I don't remember. It was, you know, it's like, it was kind of a shock to myself. So I got to figure out how to pay that. So, you know, so I just don't think that there's an appetite in the town to ask the voters for another override right now. I mean, that's really gonna be up to the Board of Selectmen to decide that.
I don't think it would be very smart. I think it
I
would be
don't.
hurt the town too much. The taxpayers can't
Yep.
afford it, and I don't think they'd get a positive at all.
Well, and again, and I have stated this before, and if the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator feel like we are in dire circumstances, that's what the stabilization fund's for. Or looking at, okay, what are we really gonna have for free cash, and can we put some stuff off until November, December, until that's certified?
Right.
Understand that they do use some of that to build the budget for next year, but if circumstances are that dire and public safety is at risk, which, you know, I certainly believe everything that Chief Bennett came in and talked about, and Chief Dickey, so, you know, maybe we need to look at something like that. I know it's not gonna be a popular thing, we've done a good job of starting to rebuild those funds, but, I personally believe on September 25th, we're gonna just be right back where we're at.
then how do we move from here? And, like, how is this gonna progress? If
It's
this
gonna
year's
go to
this
the state.
way,
It's gonna go to the state
right,
this year.
for this budget, so next year's budget, what are we looking at? How much damage is that gonna do to the town and the
Good question.
taxpayers?
It's a good
I mean,
question.
it has
I
to
don't
be
think we know
looked
yet.
at, it
Yep.
has to be discussed, debated, researched, something needs to
Mm-hmm.
change. We're broken, the system's broken, something needs to change somewhere. Because we're gonna come back to the same problem every year, and it's just getting worse, it's impacting us worse.
And school costs are gonna keep going up, and town costs are gonna keep going up, and we already know with the Worcester, retirement fund is really gonna go up exponentially, which is gonna really hurt.
Yeah.
I think this is gonna be a really tough budget season.
Yeah,
I mean, I did understand some of their arguments, and I think that they feel like they were promised some things that weren't given to them. I don't know, I haven't gone back and looked at all the different, YouTube, meetings yet, but, that sort of came across. They unanimously certified. I didn't really hear one discussion to
No, there
lower it
wasn't.
at all.
there wasn't a discussion before the unanimous vote either, it was just on the table.
Well, they discussed it, Mr. Fellow, she talked about it, some other people talked about it a little bit, and then someone made the motion, so once, I think that they sort of had the discussion before the motion was made.
Yeah,
I mean, I personally don't know what the right answer is. It's,
doesn't seem like there is one.
and I feel like there's sort of, and rightfully so, they feel like their job is to give the kids the best education and the best resources they can, for that.
But what kids?
All kids that go to the school district. I mean, the majority of the kids, or 80%, 85% are kids from the district. So so it's kind of a double-edged sword. So to me, like the school choice kids coming in, that is a credit to our district, that people wanna come to this district. If you look at, 6, 7 years ago, people didn't want a school choice here. But since we've got new leadership in, that the fact that they want a school choice in here, and I think we've always had great teachers and great staff, but I think that it's the narrative on Narragansett School District has really changed around in, the last 5 years or so, to where having a lot of school choice is good, but then it does cost.
I was gonna say, I think the idea of wanting, or, having kids that wanna come here and parents that wanna have their kids come here is great. I think having them all come here is not. That's where I draw the line. I think, you can make the school better and you make more people wanna come here, but if you open the doors to everybody, what eventually happens in all scenarios that you do that?
Yeah, I agree with that, but I also would look at it this way. Say we said, okay, we're gonna take 50 less school choice kids across K through 12. So that's about 3 kids per class. It's not, you're not gonna cut a teacher because you have 3 less kids in each grade. So in one aspect, having those 50 kids actually pays for a teacher. So it's yeah. So it's
It's the
mean,
catch-22,
it
because
is.
if you didn't have the 247 kids, I guarantee you,
Yeah,
there
you're
would
gonna have
be
to
people
cut
that
teachers.
just wouldn't exist there,
You're right, and you're gonna have a lot higher class sizes.
maybe.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, if
You
we
might
only
have
have,
smaller,
Well, you might.
because you have more money per student.
Well, as long as you're, I mean, at a very minimum, I believe you have to be, same number in as same number out, plus or minus 1-2%.
100% concur
Yeah.
with that.
Other
I think
than
that's
that-
the purpose of it.
Right, other than that, it's, I don't know, I mean, I think it's just, like I said, I think it's a credit to the school system, but at what cost?
Yeah, because I was gonna say, if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because my memory's not what it used to be. But I thought, like, when we were talking with Dr. Casvan in the meeting, he said, you know, in a lot of cases, 10% was the number.
Yeah, he did,
We're double that,
yeah.
and we have no problem. That's my problem. You know, we're double that, and we're walking in saying, yay,
But I do
school
think they know
choice."
it, they know it's a slippery slope,
I think we slipped.
but, and I guess once you, I think I saw something, Faith, you might even actually posted this, that is, once a kid comes in, say at kindergarten, school choice, they can stay all the way through 12.
Right.
Right, and that's, you know, and that's my look at it right now. I mean, I'm just a simple numbers guy is what I
Yep,
want,
no,
you
I
know.
know.
And a simple numbers, 10 people a year, 12 years, 120, that's 10%.
But then how much, actually,
30,
yeah, but if they bring in 100 and,
20.
well, yeah, 120, but how much does it cost to educate them? And I'm sure it's double or triple that. Meaning,
Per
they say it's like
pupil.
16,000 per pupil or
Yeah.
ish to educate. So if you have a student coming in school choice at 5,000, the district's paying that other 11.
On 270 of them right now.
Well,
Or on the difference between,
130.
yeah,
130.
132 or so,
So that's about $1.3 million.
which is the difference in the budget,
Yep.
just surprisingly. Coincidence? I don't believe in them.
It's all in what the town can also afford. You're at a point where the town's cutting things. It's not like
Right.
they have this big bank account, they're like, no, we don't wanna pay you. They're saying, okay, look at, this is the cuts we have to make if we pay you this much. This is the cuts we have to make if we pay you this much more. I mean,
Right,
that
but
has to be
they're also
looked at as
saying, but they're
well.
also saying, if you look at them as a, not the town, but as a department, where we have to say, go to the police and say, unfortunately, we have to cut an officer, we have to cut a highway person. It's the same thing with them. Call them a department. They have cut teachers, they have cut paras, they have cut some staff for this year. You know, at the end of last year, I think 10 or 11 people got laid off. Now, I think they've been able to bring a few of those back. But, I mean, it's kind of the same thing, as they have made cuts.
I was gonna say, the only thing I can say on that is the numbers haven't changed year over year.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, yeah, and I know they have, some of their hiring methods have people on, you know, 10 months of the year and laid off for 2 and that kind of thing. I don't know what the
Well-
breakdown is, but,
One thing I'm sort of hoping is that maybe this first year might be a little bit of an anomaly to opening the new school, and that next year maybe things,
But budgets never go down.
and this is
not
only,
usually, you're right.
the only additional cost really should be the school, not additional staff, because we have all the same kids. So I don't, you know, and they said 340,000 for the new school. That's their number.
Right.
So, I mean, every road I go down is a roadblock.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's really, really tough. I wanna mimic what, Faith was saying, that I just think the system overall is broke.
Yep,
And we're at a point where the break is glaring.
yep.
You know, prior to this, there was more money flowing than there was debt and more expense and so on and so forth. The 2.5% cover, it don't. You
No,
know,
it
if we're
doesn't.
getting $300,000 from the town and we have a $2 million increase in our tax rate or on our taxes, you know, our budget, $1.7 million. It's $3 a thousand, that's 1 year. Ouch. And going on what you were saying earlier, and I'm sorry to make you type like a madman.
No, that's
here.
okay. No, that's what I'm here for.
But, you know, on the tax issue, you know, this has been going on for a while, and I think I sent you, just a
Yeah.
little slip, basically. When we started this, and this was just an interesting point that you touched on here a minute ago, but, you know, I think it was 2016-17 when this process actually started. The average house in Templeton was valued at $200,000. looking, on the real estate sites and Zillow and all these things, now it's closer to 249. Right now. So, yeah, the rate of tax is not going up as much, but the tax
Valuation.
value or the valuations are going up faster.
Yep.
So as Tony was saying, I mean, at that point, I was like, oh geez, it's gonna be $3 a thousand, I'm gonna be paying this. Well, I'm still paying this, but it's not $3 a thousand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, this year, I think we got kind of the double whammy. We got the tax rate increase due to the bonds and higher valuations, much higher. I mean, that's one thing they can do is,
It's
they can only
market.
raise taxes 2.5%, or the tax rate 2.5% without an override, but valuations can go up.
We have so many houses for sale. The market's just booming in the town. Even as
well,
fast as they go up, they sell.
Yep, they do.
And which increases the prices, which is gonna increase people's taxes right there.
Yeah, the
So
one
if you
thing,
look-
the one thing I will say about there are certainly a lot of houses in town, but I've been doing a lot of driving lately, not only in Massachusetts, but New Hampshire, Maine. There's a
Same
lot of
thing.
houses, like, everywhere houses are for sale. So I don't think it's unique to Templeton, just throwing that out
The
there.
turnaround's quick that we
Yeah,
get
it is,
though,
yeah.
for the sale of the
Yeah,
house, and that's what's driving our assessments to get so high, because that's how they do the appraisals,
That's
the
a-
same way.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the market.
They know what they sell
Um,
for.
Yeah, I was just reading an article about that, they were saying a lot of that's based on the tax change to developers and so forth, that it's affecting their profits more, so they're investing less in speculative housing and blah, 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 so it's
What
keeping.
could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, nothing,
Yeah.
nothing at all.
Well, in a lot of, I also read an article where, housing inside of, 128 and even, between 128 and 495, it's getting to the price where people can't afford it and they're moving out this way more.
Yeah,
So,
they've been doing that for years.
Super commuters.
so I don't think this is the last time we're gonna talk about the school and what's going on with trying to come up with a good budget for them that they believe that they can handle and educate our kids and that the town can handle and figuring out a way out of this.
If I might, Mr. Chairman, I looked up the school committee policies for the NRSD school committee. And I think their mission, I just want to restate this for viewers, for us. It says their mission is, quote, "The Narragansett Regional School District, in partnership with the communities and parents, ensure that all students are inspired to develop the knowledge, skills, behaviors, attitudes, and values to become successful, responsible individuals and citizens in our ever-changing global society." I just think it's interesting that their mission statement talks about partnership with the communities and the parents. I feel confident as one of those members of the community that it's got to include fiscal responsibility. So I just wanted to read their mission statement that's on their website, because there's nothing in here, even though I believe personally that the school committee works for the good of the school, there's nothing in here that states they're all about the best thing for the kids. School's a business.
Exactly.
And I understand, like, when you talk about it personally, my daughter's 3rd grade teacher does a great job. Yes, 100%. Yes, yes, yes. But when it comes right down to it, the school committee is operating the school district, and their job is to maintain their business. That's all there is to it. So I just think it's a good reminder. It states here in their commitment to accomplishment that the school committee accepts ultimate responsibility for all facets of school operations because it is accountable to residents of the district. The school committee will maintain a program of accountability consisting of the following elements, and then it speaks some more about that. I don't need to read it all. This is it's on the Narragansett website. I don't have any special access to anything. It's all right there. And at the bottom, it says every effort will be made by the school committee, superintendent, and staff to fulfill the responsibilities inherent in the concept of accountability. So that's all. I just thought that was important to read.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Any more comments on the school committee meeting? No, that would liven things up a bit. Old business? Open issues? Lee, I think you had a,
Yeah, if you don't mind. So I have this handout, and let me briefly explain this. So we talked last meeting about some potential changes to our section of the website. If you were to go to that, there's a couple sections where there's links. Particularly on the left-hand side, there's a lot of links to just a lot of older documentation. What's trying to be expressed here, and this page needs to be broken up, what you're looking at, into two different things. The top 7 lines would be a potential proposal for what those links would become, but essentially they're becoming folders. So when you click on, say, meeting minutes, that'll bring you down into the next level, and everything further down there, the indents just simply show where there'd be additional drill downs. So for example, in meeting minutes, there'd be a listing of fiscal years. And if you click on fiscal year 19, it'll then bring you down to the respective months, and then we'll have the respective documents in each one. And the goal here is to have those first 7 items really be obvious pointers to anything that you want that's related to the advisory committee, at least as much as we can gather. We've got meeting minutes going back years now. There might be some pieces that are missing, but the top items, so budget documents, so those would include things like BVAs, green sheets, anything else that makes sense. Over the years, there have been several committee goals documents that have been put out. So if you look at that compared to the way that I break it out below, I get the fiscal years listed. You might not actually see every fiscal year because it wasn't done every fiscal year. But again, just if you want to see the committee goals, meeting minutes, the committee's policies, recommendations, and the recommendations would be broken down by fiscal year and then by annual town meeting, special town meeting, and potentially district meeting. And then there's several just state documents, so DSL documents that are up there that I figured we'd put in its own folder, and then transfer documents. There's probably things that I missed, but again, what I'm trying to do tonight is just run this by the committee as a conceptual way to do this. And then that middle section, I think the Board of Selectmen did a pretty good job where right now we've got sort of like a mission statement and a value statement, but there's nothing that explicitly states, when we meet and other things. I'm looking at what the Board of Selectmen did in theirs and kind of copying it. So get rid of all the links at the bottom of that, but have a cleaner section as far as what we do, when we meet, sort of the cadence aspect, and then list the people at the people in the committee at the bottom. And then again, all the navigation is just going to be that left-hand side. Simplified, easy to get to drill downs that are all organized by when these things happened, and then the respective documents underneath that.
it's a good idea.
Again, just a thought, but, because for example, so BVAs, where do you find those? Okay, so
That's a good question,
See?
Lee.
It's easy
I
to
spent
find.
quite a bit of time looking for them today, and I'm like, if they exist, I cannot find them. And not to toot my own horn, I'm really good at finding stuff online. Nothing. So
Mostly
again,
emails,
just,
they were usually giving out paper before that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because they didn't wanna do the digital.
so again, there's probably a lot of stuff. Even if we organize it this way, the website will never be complete because the documents either don't exist in electronic form ever, and they're trying to go back in time to 14 or 15 and try to reconvert. It's just not feasible. But anything that we do have, again, let's just try to get it to where the citizens of the town can get it as easily as possible. We've got a lot of stuff over the last 2 years via email, like the BVAs, that we can easily
Yep.
put up there, and just go from there.
And I think maybe if we have any older documents past, pick a year, 17 or whatever, that we have a folder for, if you wanna call it archive documents or something that,
Well,
I think I'd know 2 people who might have
Yeah, I think.
a bunch of that stuff if we, need to fill any holes.
yeah, so what I did was anything that I did find on our website, I downloaded. So all the existing links there, some of them going back to at least 14, I downloaded everything, and the top 7 folder structure actually includes those. So when you drill down into each one, it would have, you know, fiscal year 14,
Oh, that's great.
15. So, so the initial thought of just having a generic archive, I don't think we need to do it because I think we can organize it better than that. But there's gonna be a ton of gaps. So you'll see it jump from fiscal year 14 to maybe 17 or 8. But it's, unless
I think
it's
it's
there, there's nothing I can do about it.
No, but I think getting it in an organized state.
Yeah, exactly.
To where we can, but no, I think that's a great idea. I guess we'll wait for Bob to
Well,
get
going
that.
forward, it'll be organized from, 17 or 18 onward. Everything will be there, so
Can you,
if at some point they wanna go back.
Can you edit everything on the website?
So the only thing I can't,
Is
and
board numbers.
yeah,
Okay,
I
I
need to
will,
talk to
um,
Holly.
I will email Holly right,
Okay, yeah,
right
if you don't.
now, and,
I got really busy after the last meeting and just did
That
not.
sounds really good, I like that.
yeah.
Their presentation on it, and the more information for the taxpayers is
Yeah.
excellent,
Did
cause
you
it
look
is
at
a
the
good
one-
resource.
Yeah, did you look at the one for the Board of Selectmen?
Yeah.
It's an easy read, it's like,
Yeah.
here's where we meet, and I'm just thinking, it's nice to have our mission statement and everything there, and I'm not saying get rid of that, but just some additional information that I think would be helpful. And I like, they get a nice little picture of Templeton,
Yeah,
and maybe we can do something similar. Just,
oh, yeah, sounds great.
draw some parallels between what they did.
Sure, I can get you some pictures.
I'm sure you can, yes.
And then you're keeping all the information for everyone to be able to get a hold of, it's excellent.
Yeah,
Well, and that's the thing, once this is done, then on a continuous basis, every time we get a BBA, dump it in the folder. Every meeting, dump the meeting minutes in. So it needs to be set up, and honestly, this isn't gonna be that hard to do.
well, it makes it easier for us too, going back when we're scrambling through emails, we can't remember which folder I put it in on my
Yeah.
own thing,
Right.
it'll be right there.
Going through emails is
And it's
much more
public
difficult.
information anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and organized
be
is so nice.
Easily accessible, the people in the public shouldn't be hunting all over, it's
Right.
partly why it's so frustrating. So,
And-
we've got
and-
this great new town website, let's encourage people to use it.
Definitely.
And truthfully, having the information out there, so if someone's at home watching and hear us discuss, I don't know if anybody actually watches the meeting, but if they hear us discuss a certain, document, like the BVA or whatever, they can go to it and understand, okay, now I understand on page 2, whatever
Right,
they're
right.
talking about. I think that's a great idea.
That information, and I can just say from practical manners, because 3 years ago, we had none of that. 3 years ago, we didn't have the Board of Selectmen, didn't have their, attachments,
Yeah.
on. So you didn't have anything when you came to these meetings.
Right.
You had nothing. You had no idea what the papers were that they were shuffling around up here. And it was frustrating as all for me.
Yeah.
So I think more information is better. And it also gives us, a reason to say we need it digitally because this is where it goes. And then it's access to the public.
Yep.
And how can you argue with public access, to public information?
Right.
Well, so I did not do a good job over last however long of coming to meetings like this, but how frequent is this type of thing? Everyone's got a laptop in front of them during the meeting itself,
Paper, yeah.
More so now than before, but not,
but relatively recent, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
this is today's world.
yes.
So getting everything electronically, and I completely agree with you.
So, yeah, I think we should probably get a motion to have Lee put this in this format. Is everybody okay with the format, or do you wanna?
Yeah, I like it.
So the only thing I was curious about is, do we do that tonight, or should we potentially push this until next week when hopefully both Will and Debbie are back to get there?
I'm fine either way, if you, I don't think they'll have an issue.
Well, we
I
have,
don't see
we
any
have a
rub,
quorum,
but-
so,
Yeah, we do, I think they'll be okay with it. I
Okay.
mean, there may always be minor tweaks that we end up making.
Well, we can, again, to set this up, from what I've seen in editing
it's
the
flexible,
system,
yeah.
it should be pretty easy to do. Finding the content by far and away is gonna be the hardest part of this entire thing, but getting the folder structure set up,
Yeah.
that should be pretty easy, and then we'll just dump stuff in as it comes. And if someone comes up with a recommendation after the fact, we'll just edit it on the
Yeah.
fly.
Yeah,
Yep.
So, okay.
Okay,
Sounds great.
okay. You need a motion?
probably.
Okay, I'll make a motion to give Lee permission to edit the website as he clearly described.
Have a second?
Second?
Okay, no more discussion? Bob,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes?
Lee,
Yes.
Faith?
Yes.
And I'm a yes also. Thanks, Lee, that's
Nice job,
awesome.
Lee.
Yep, not a problem, thank you.
All right, let me get back to my.
It's terrible.
I have to call you Poindexter right now for Jeff.
Lost track of my agenda. Okay, I don't think we have any more old business. New business, I got an email, Carter spoke to me yesterday at the Board of Selectmen meeting and then sent me an email. And he wants to offer a financial workshop to us, in that, different things like what is the overlay and what is it used and how do they calculate it, and tax recap and how do finance policies come to be, and just, and I told him, I thought, especially, with Faith being new and with the budget season coming up, having another refresher for us, I know from my perspective, I think this budget season for me is gonna be a lot different than I think the first year. I think that was kind of a learning thing. So I told him I would bring it up at the meeting today. I like the idea. I don't know exactly, I think we wanna get the school stuff behind us at least through the 25th, so maybe one of the meetings in October, we could do a workshop, kind of right before budget season starts, which really does for them start then, but for us.
Yeah, their workshop's the first week of October, I think.
Yeah, so, everybody amiable to that?
I'm all for it. I'm willing to learn anything I can.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I will, I'll work with
Sounds good.
Carter and Adam, and we'll figure out when will be a good time, and we may eventually want to get even with the school committee and ask them, okay, how do you construct your budget? But I think that, I do believe that next year's budget's gonna be constructed differently, based on the meeting that we had with Dr. Cassavant. He's, I don't think we could have a better person in there, though, personally. I'm not really even biased, I just think that he has some good ideas, but realizes, hey, we gotta do some things differently. So, all right, so I'll talk to Carter. Any other new business?
Just along the lines that you were talking about, Tony, I just wanted to throw out that idea to the board or to the committee, that, and I don't know if we even can, truly, but ask for a monthly BBA from the school. We get one from the town with all the departments. The department that's missing is the school.
They're not municipal though, they're their own entity. I don't think they'll give it to us.
Yeah,
That's why I don't know if we can, cause we do have certain, let's say, powers and duties when it comes to town funds.
Right.
So I don't know. But I'd personally like to explore that.
I will send Dr. Cassavant and Mrs. Geister an email. And, they may have to bring it to the school committee to see if
Yeah,
they
I
can
think
release
you'll
it, but
probably have to know.
I will email them and ask them that question.
I just think it would help us when it comes to budget season, just to be familiar with their budget, cause even the town's budget, like you said, you coming in first year, going through the budget process, you're kinda just going for the ride, trying to find out how things go, where things are, how, whatever this is. I've been spending far too much time in about the past three or so years just trying to find my way.
Yep.
And, like I said, it's been 3 years and I finally feel like I have a clue. I don't know the answer and I don't know the question, but I have a clue.
So, and this is, again, and every time we talk about BVA's, I'll get on my spend plan soapbox, because
Cause it's a good
to
idea, we know, we get it.
me, the BVA is no good. If I see an account going along that isn't spent, and all of a sudden there's a $25,000 expenditure, if I know ahead of time, I don't have to send 4 emails to people. Someone could just say, oh yeah, we have a quarterly oil bill we pay or something, whatever, whatever the case may be. I know, I don't mean we're spending $25,000 on oil or whatever, but, so when we evaluate those monthly ones, to me, the yearly one is really the only one of value to me, unless you get an explanation of, and I'm not saying I need to know when you're gonna spend $50 on paper or something. I wanna know when there's those big chunks in your budget that, that's an expenditure that just sort of could possibly raise a red flag. And I think, I've talked to, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen about this. I think he agrees with me. Now, whether we'll get there or not, I don't know.
What's the first step of getting there?
Well, we're having the conversation, so I guess we're kinda in the first step.
Cause the
It's-
departments would have to agree to that as well,
Yeah.
and then, give over.
Well,
that
so we'd have to
information.
come up with a rule set of,
Yeah.
okay, what is it that I wanna see in your spend plan? You can pretty much say, okay, if you have $120,000 in salary, that's $10,000 a month, okay, that's not hard. But, there was somebody that, something went along and for like 4 or 5 months, and all of a sudden it was like a $40,000
Yeah,
expenditure.
yeah, it happens
You
in
know,
some of the things.
So,
but-
and I'll use this, and I'm not picking on the police department by any means, but, say, they wait to buy ammo because they know if they wait till December, they get a better deal on it or whatever, and then, so there's a spike in supplies or something, or whatever account that comes under, just knowing that there's a big expenditure coming from them, then when you look at that each month, you say, okay, I know why that's there, and we don't,
Right, you don't wonder why there's an extra whatever thousand sitting and sitting and sitting, and it's December, it's January, it's February, and you're like, what the heck, why is this here? Yeah.
And I know in my job, we have to come up with spend plans monthly and then yearly, so it's really yearly, then by month.
Makes sense. It'd be nice if we could get it.
And I don't wanna create a ton of work for people,
No.
but I think a little extra effort, and we can get it there.
I was gonna say, a lot of the things with the VADAR system is just printing a report,
Yeah.
cause you
Right.
can pretty much pick the detail you want,
Yeah.
so.
So.
Once
as-
you get
as
it
know,
set,
we're-
it's just,
We're not doing VADAR, so if we do have a request from
no,
VADAR.
we're not,
But they can. I mean, I think Kelly's been very good about, at least with me, responding to emails that I send. I think she's been very open, and I've had a few conversations with her, and she's been very willing to get us what we need, so. All right. Any other new business? Wasn't on here, but the next meeting will be next Thursday, 6:30. So that'll be our normal first Thursday of the month meeting. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
We are adjourned.